No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
You know, Dave Manouk, as we sit here on Thursday night, about to be Friday morning, a mere few minutes away, I'm getting a little concerned when it comes to the first tiebreaker for playoff positioning, regulation wins.
Yeah.
The Jets, struggling in that category, only have 4 regulation wins. Is it time to be concerned about the Jets' struggles in regulation time?
I think you can pass on the struggles.
I can pass on the struggles. My tongue
Pass on
is
the concern.
firmly in cheek, folks, before you accuse me of going off the deep end. The Winnipeg Jets victorious yet again. Not once, not twice, not thrice.
I'm losing out of
not
fingers.
4 times, not 5 times, not 6 times, but 7 times in a row to start the 24-25 season, winning 4-3 in overtime over the Seattle Kraken. With that, we say good evening, Winnipeg, good evening, Manitoba, and for all those joining us all around the world, good evening and good morning, universe, depending on where you may be. Like, I know Warren is in Oshawa at 1 a.m, so he's up, so I got to say good morning as well, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show
we had
presented by Play Now.
We had someone from Queensland listening to us to our last show. So welcome to the folks down under.
I think it would be good afternoon there, though. So, I mean,
Yes.
I got to cover good evening. I got good morning. I got good afternoon. I'm covering all the bases. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're tuning in from, we appreciate. There you go. John Chan is in Singapore, if I recall correctly.
That's true.
Sean is in the Maldives. We got people all around the world checking in to talk about the Winnipeg Jets. Victorious again, 4-3 over the Seattle Kraken. And it's a win, and it's in the winning side of the ledger. But honestly, Dave, I think of the 7 games the Winnipeg Jets have played so far this year, this was probably, I mean, you know, maybe the Chicago game, certainly they played down to their opponent, but I thought this was the stiffest test that they have faced so far this season. The Seattle Kraken impressed me with the speed and their tenacity and their ferociousness in today's game. And nonetheless, the Winnipeg Jets come out ahead, winning 4-3 in overtime.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely had its miscues, much like the broadcast with the audio that didn't work for the first period.
The first period was awful for the Jets, and it was awful for the broadcast.
Someone, as I said, you know, it's all out of sync, and they said just like the Jets, and I said that's actually pretty appropriate. The Jets, much like the audio video, were out of sync in that first period. And look, you have to credit your opponent. It's not always so much about the team that we're talking about, which is our focus on, I should say, is the Winnipeg Jets. But of course, you have to credit Seattle. Seattle's not a bad team. They'd won, I think, 3 in a row before losing to the Avs on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. So, you know, they were 4-3, 2-1 in their own building, but not a bad team and a fast team. And, you know, they really stretched the Jets out a little bit and tried to use speed to break the Jets game plan. So you credit what they were able to do because, you know, they came out in that first period and they really, like I said, the Jets looked disjointed and out of sync, to put it nicely. They woke up obviously in the second, so that's a good thing for them. But, you know, again, some lapses and some miscues and some mistakes end up burning the Jets. It's not something, Drew, we've seen very much. It's not something we've been able to talk about very much this year.
That's right.
But, you know, at the end of the day, it's another lesson you can learn, right? And more importantly, because this is the most important part, Minnesota's winning.
Yeah.
Colorado started winning.
Yeah.
St. Louis is winning. Like, it's amazing that the Jets are now 7-0, 14 points. And the only real team that they've put a significant amount of distance on, that when I say real team, I mean a team that they're actually, you know, somewhat concerned before the season began, we're been concerned about, are the Nashville Predators.
Yeah.
So Minnesota's right there, right? You've got Dallas right there. So I'm just saying, it's amazing the Jets are 7-0, and yet they're not that far ahead of some of the other teams in the Central. So it's critical that they picked up another 2 points and they banked them. And look, 14 points, guys. I'm not going to say that you can already lock them down for a playoff spot, but they're getting pretty close to this point, Drew.
I mean, what they have done is they've given themselves that cushion. There's going to be a time during the course of this season, because it happened last year too, even when they had the cushion, where you go through the struggles, where you go through and you can't, string 2 passes together. You can't string 2 victories together. And all it does by winning these games is it makes that struggle, which is inevitably going to happen, it makes it that much more tolerable, because it's probably not going to be a backbreaker, or at least it shouldn't be a backbreaker. You always want to win 7 in a row. You always want to win more than 7 in a row. It just so happens that the Jets have won 7 in a row to start the season. That in and of itself is what is so unique about it. I think they're the first Canadian team. I saw a stat, the NHL came out with their, they come out with a package of Dave Minuk-esque stat prior to the games
Potpourri.
Yeah, every afternoon, and they were coming out with something. The Jets, I think, are the first Canadian team since the Montreal Canadiens in some year, like maybe 07 or 08, to start by winning 7 games in a row. If I can pull it up in the course of the broadcast, the actual number, I will. But it's just impressive. Is really what it boils down to. On a night that I thought the Jets, quite frankly, weren't the better of the 2 teams on the ice. I thought Seattle was certainly the better team to start the first period. They were certainly the better team in the latter half of the third period when they were pushing for the equalizer, which they eventually got. I thought the Jets just weren't as crisp. I thought Neil Pionk and Dylan Samberg, Pionk in particular, I thought he struggled in tonight's game. I thought this was, shades of the Neil Pionk of last year, where we hoped we weren't going to see that on a regular basis. His reads were off. His decision-making, to me, was a little bit off in tonight's game. More negatives than positives, probably, for the Winnipeg Jets in the course of tonight's game. But you still come ahead as the winner. So that's a pretty good sign. That's a pretty good position to be in if you're the Winnipeg Jets, is that things weren't clicking as well as they had been, and you still managed to grind through it, persevere through it, shake off the slow start for, was that now 3 or 4 straight games where they've given up the first goal, and they still come out on the right side at the end of the contest.
Yeah, I believe that's 5 of the 7 games now, Drew, that they've given up the first goal. I think I saw that. But, look, it's at the end of the day, it's one of those it's a game that the coaching staff is going to not love. They're not going to, some of the breakdowns, which we'll get into when we start doing our play now game recap. But yeah, look, there's a game like that where you blow a 3-1 lead. You can't call it a Picasso. You can't say that it's something that you're going to be thrilled about. Yeah, you're very happy to get the 2 points and you're happy to move on to Calgary with a chance to keep this rolling. But at the same time, there are some, concerns. I mean, the power play looked good, even though they only had the 1 chance. The power play was good again. And even though they didn't score,
for sure.
Yeah, even though they didn't score on the power play opportunity, it was, shortly thereafter. That's another sign of, positivity, I should say, for the organization, because it's not that it was, again, it didn't struggle, right? Like, they haven't had a lot of chances, but I thought it was pretty good. So, I mean, like I said, there's some areas of concern, but there's always going to be, right? Like, this is 7 games into an 82 game season. So there's a lot of hockey still to be played. And these coaches watch the game, they're going to break it down. They're going to have a chance to evaluate the team as a whole, as we will try to do on this broadcast. And ultimately they'll, work on the parts of the game that they didn't like, focus on some of the positives that they took away from it, and then move on to Calgary.
That's right. Calgary's next on Saturday night. Of course, Saturday morning, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show will get you set for that 9 a.m. on Saturday back here on our YouTube channel. So be sure to subscribe, smash the like button, set the reminder. Be sure to join us on Saturday morning. But you're joining us now. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show. Now it's Friday morning. Drew Mindell, Dave Minuk, so many of you, thank you for being here. The post-game show brought to you by our friends at Play Now. before we get into the game recap, the Play Now game recap, Dave, interesting note from Mike McIntyre. I'm just seeing this come across Twitter, that the NHL, you would think that when one year ends, another year begins, they wouldn't continue counting it. But apparently the NHL
it's like 15.
it counts combined seasons. So the Jets are now up to 15 straight victories over between last year and this year. And the NHL considers that the same streak. The NHL and their rule and their record keeping is always a little bit weird, but the NHL considers that the same streak. So the Jets now, by virtue of the victory tonight, have tied for the fourth longest winning streak in NHL history, albeit over 2 seasons in this case. Pittsburgh has the longest at 17. Edmonton and Columbus have 16. And then the Jets are over there now at 15 consecutive regular season victories. And then, of course, Calgary coming up on Saturday, and then Toronto on Monday back at home for the one-off before they head back out on the road. So just a little interesting tidbit regarding the Jets and their continued success dating back to last year. It's odd that they can count it that way, but like I said, it's not my decision making.
Well, I'm just going to throw out 2 points. Number one, in response to your qualifier about how the NHL makes weird decisions with respect to how they can count things. This is an NHL that the 1.0 history is currently resting with the Utah Hockey Club. So I don't know
that
it's not
even resting with Utah.
I guess it's kind of in limbo. You're right. Sorry, it's in limbo. Utah has cut ties. But so the point is that you've got an opportunity to, like the NBA did, just give it back to the original franchise. Again, I'm not going to go on a long soliloquy. I don't really care
this
that
is
much.
Remus's thing, and it's really annoying, but we've heard it all.
I'm not going
to. Just enough to talk about.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to waste time. And but now you've thrown me off my other point. But
Sorry.
I was going to say that the Jets don't want to talk about last year. Now they don't want to talk about the playoffs, and they don't want to talk about the regular season. So again, you have to kind of make it both things. So I suspect that if you ask the Jets, they're not going to say, well, it's eight from last year, 7 from this year. They're going to focus on the 7 from this year. It makes it fun for Mike and guys like us to have a little fun with it. But I suspect that if you actually mention that to anybody in the room, they'd look at you like you had 2 heads.
They'd give you one of those Blake Wheeler-esque withering stares.
Well, we don't really get those anymore, but
you
get some sort of quinzical look, I would say.
I would say that's probably a fair way to go about it. Let's get into the goal-by-goal recap. We do this on each and every episode of the Illegal Curve post-game show. It's the Play Now game recap.
The Play Now game recap.
Big thanks to our friends at Play Now for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show, and of course the Illegal Curve hockey show, and of course illegalcurve.com. Learn to bet with Play Now, the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Sign up and get up to $250 in bonus bets. Conditions apply. 18 plus. Again, enjoy responsibly. So a real sluggish start to the game for the Winnipeg Jets. Didn't have a lot of jump, didn't have a lot of skating speed to their game to start. Contrast that with the Seattle Kraken, who to me looked like they came out like a cannon. They were just absolutely all over the ice, all over the Jets. A faster team the Kraken were than I really remember them from last year. Last year was not a good season for them, and albeit a pretty similar team, but they just seemed like they had more jump and more speed in their game, certainly to start tonight. And they get the opening goal as a result of that. It's Matty Beniers at the 11:27 mark of the first period. He opens the scoring for the Kraken. Assist on this one it's unassisted. Pardon me. No assist on this one. Yeah. It's it's a real nice shot by Beniers. He goes short side on Connor Hellebuyck to open the scoring. Didn't love how the Jets played it. Didn't really love it how Neil Pionk played it. I know I'm going to be mentioning his name, and I'm not trying to pick on him because he did do some good things in the course of today's game. But when the puck is on Beniers' stick and he's got you look at Pionk and he's sort of in no man's land. He's not close enough to Beniers to make a play. He's not far enough back he's just sort of stuck there and doesn't know how to react. Beniers is really coming into his own, already the Calder Trophy winner from a number of years ago, but you can see his game is continuing to develop. This was a bullet of a shot, giving the Kraken the early 1-0 lead.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you got to give Larson credit for a great breakout pass, stretch pass, I should say, out from behind his goaltender to the forward, and yeah, the Jets defense is not particularly great on this, that top line opportunity, and yeah, you're right. Neil Pionk kind of stops and then waits, and that moments of hesitation gives Beniers the time and space, and he picks the corner. I mean, that's just it's a rocket of a shot up and over Connor Hellebuck's shoulder, so. It's not the best defense. Kyle Connor gets a little bit turned around when he has a chance to, when Dylan Sandberg, when he has a chance along the wall to make a play, he doesn't make it. So it's kind of a number of guys failing on this play, Drew, right? So Sandberg has a chance to make the stop, doesn't. Now Kyle Connor kind of ineffective with his stick. And again, Beniers gets that puck and has a wicked shot, as you described, and makes it a 1-0 game.
Yeah, exactly right. So, I mean, good start for the Kraken, a well-deserved start in that they take the early lead in this game. They outshoot the Jets 12-7 in that first period, but for a while there, Dave, it was way more one-sided than 12-7.
Yeah, it was 11-4. I think it was 11-4 at one point, or 11. Many of them 11-2. It was for sure 11-4.
It was more one-sided. 12-7 sort of flattered the Winnipeg Jets, as this Kraken were by far the better of the two teams. Early in that game, or in the first period, the Jets had to kill off a penalty as or Dylan DeMello, I believe, took the only penalty of the first period. He did. Yeah, he had an interference penalty. The Jets penalty kill did what it needed to do. The Jets are being very adept at staying out of the penalty box. If I am correct, and I'm going to look this up right now, I believe they're the least penalized team in the entire NHL so far this year. When you don't take penalties and you have a good penalty kill, that's generally a recipe for success. But the Jets have generally been a fairly disciplined team over the last number of years, and you're seeing that so far this year in that they have not taken very many penalties. They've taken 11 penalties, all of the minor penalties. That's tied for the least in the NHL with the New York Islanders. So there you go. That's a pretty good stat for the Winnipeg Jets in terms of staying out of the penalty box.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's, again, discipline. That was one of the biggest things that the Jets were going to have to be. Now, again, we were basing it on the fact that their PK was so atrocious last year, and it's been a lot better this year. And, it's only 15th. But as we said last year, Drew, if you could just be in the middle of the pack, it would be a victory, because I believe this time last year, they were around 30th in the NHL. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a small, and again, part of it is that they don't take a lot of penalties. So they're not getting opportunities to, increase that, because they're not killing off that many. But, like I said, I like the fact that the way they played it, and you wondered if that did give them a little bit of a boost, being able to kill the penalty in the first.
Yeah, and then they start off the second period much better. It's very similar again to almost the St. Louis game. That the second period was definitely a much better period. I was going to say, a memo to other teams and to the Jets opponents this year: jump on them for more than just one goal in the first, because the Jets seem to give you a relatively easy first 20 minutes, and then they decide that they want to get their skating legs on, and then they decide that they want to get into the game. And that happens in the second period. Before they tie it up, Joey Decord, who actually played pretty well, I thought, for the Seattle Kraken in net tonight, he made a great save, I believe, off Neil Pionk early in the second period, where it looked like Pionk was going to tie the game, but Decord was up to the challenge.
He probably held on to it for about a fraction too long. A few one-times that I suspect it's in the back of the net. Easy for me to say, but you're right, Drew. It was that sense that the Jets actually woke up. Cole Perfetti had a good chance right after that Pionk chance. So that was one of those things that you kind of got a sense, and obviously they tied it shortly thereafter. But the point was, you could kind of get a sense that they whatever that was said in the intermission woke them up, because they had been slumbering in the first. They were sleeping in Seattle. They weren't sleepless in Seattle, and then they woke up in the second.
Well, sleeping sounds like a delightful thing to be doing, but we're glad that almost 400 of you are not sleeping just yet, that they're putting off the sleep. Sleep is for the weak, especially for those who are in the central and the eastern time zones, where it would actually be quite late. Those of you who are overseas, as we talked about, you guys are middle of the afternoon. It's probably not quite nap time just yet. But in any event, we appreciate you all joining us here. 1-0 after 20 minutes. Pionk with that great chance early in
Drew, are you just going to ignore John W.'s vow here?
Hey, John, look, bald is beautiful, my friend.
And make sure you read it for the people in the chat here.
Oh, so yeah, for the people on the podcast, John W is saying that if the Jets get to 8-0, he's going to get Drew's haircut, my haircut, which means, of course, the cue ball look. I don't know what John's hairstyle presently is, so I can't say if that's a large sacrifice. He might already be bald. We don't really know. Maybe he's holding on to the last vestiges of a once great civilization of hair, and it's time for it to, go by the wayside. But whatever it is, John, if the Jets win on Saturday, we're going to hold you to it, and we expect to see that beautiful cue ball head of yours to look like me. And if you want to borrow a red sweatshirt and really take on the full Mindell persona, I'm sure we can make arrangements to that effect. Jets tie it up at the 3:56 mark of the second period. Nino Niederreiter, he's on fuego, if you will, and I don't know how you would say that in Swiss, but we're going to say it like that. It's his third of the season, assist to Mason Appleton and Adam Lowry. And, to surprise of nobody, Nino Niederreiter gets goals by being right in front of the net, by being net hungry, by having strong net drives. And he's rewarded on this one, the Appleton shot, and it sort of pinballs and bounces in off of his big body, giving the Jets the equalizer and tying the game at 1 goal apiece. But strong net front presence for the Winnipeg Jets has been a secret to success for the last number of years, and it really does start since they acquired Nino Niederreiter.
Yeah, but I mean, like that was a particularly painful goal for the Winnipeg Jets. Adam Lowry gets a high stick to the face, so he doesn't even get a chance to celebrate with his teammates because he's in pain, dealing with the fact that he just got slanged across the face. And then Nino Niederreiter is rubbing his chest because he just got that puck right in the chest. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of agreed with Seattle when I saw what looked like a kicking motion from Nino when you just watched it live. And then when you watched the replay, you realized he was just turning and the puck was already in the net. And that's just a veteran move by him, to know that he's where he is, presence of mind, to know that the puck hit him here, the net's right there, and he just kind of kept on going forward. So he's a veteran. He makes no mistake. And credit Mason Appleton, revenge game for Mason Appleton from those, his time in Seattle.
Yeah, I'm sure he was salivating at the opportunity to get back at them. But
I don't know about that. But it's a fair point by you, Drew. But and the other thing also, you got to give Colin Miller, recognizing that there's an opportunity that the really, because at this point there's only 2 Kraken forward back, because I think they thought they had dumped the puck deep enough that they could get a line change. Colin Miller holds the puck into the neutral zone and gets it up quickly to Mason Appleton. So a nice heady play by Colin Miller. And sure enough, the Jets are able to equalize the game. And you could, again, like I said, we had just talked about before with the Perfetti and the Pionk chances, but you kind of sense the game was kind of turning a little bit in Winnipeg's favor and that they'd woken up. So that goal was sure enough to get them excited and get them back into that hockey game.
Yeah, 1-1 at that point in time. And then the Jets, I'm going to say catch a break because and it's the right call. So I'm not saying that they catch a break because the officials make the call. I just think Yanni Gourde was unnecessary on this one. I don't think he needed to go into the blue paint. The Kraken were in a very good position to get the equalizing goal. To retake the lead. They had an opportunity. I think it was Burakovsky and Gourde just, inexplicably a little bit, gets a little bit too close to the blue paint. He interferes with Connor Hellebuck. As a result, the goal, which was a good goal and went in the net, is disallowed. I just think Yanni Gourde maybe lost track of where he was on the ice a little bit. No doubt about it, interference was the right call. I mean, the officials barely spent any time on the headset, which tells you how obvious it was, Dave. But that, to me, certainly was a TSN turning point in this game, whereas opposed to the Kraken getting the lead back pretty quickly after the Jets tied it, that goal gets taken off the board and remains at 1 goal apiece.
That's right. It's a huge play, and whether
there you go. Snakatoba says it on the for the podcast. Snakatoba says I think it goes in without the interference. I agree, but once he interfered with Connor Hellebuck, everything the fruit from the poisonous tree is still poisonous.
Exactly. So, look, it's one of those TSN turning points, Drew, if we can call it that, because I think it's just and again, whether it required them to go to Matt Prefontaine, the video coach, to make that call, or whether Scott Arniel, listened to the defense, the goaltender, and called it right away. But yeah, it's always a huge play because the Jets had started to build back that momentum, and credit Seattle, because we always talk about it, right after you give up a goal, you sit back. and they didn't. They kept coming at Winnipeg. So you like that. If you're Seattle, you're thinking, okay, we're showing some strength here, and they score. Now, of course, as we just discussed, it was disallowed, but it's a huge play in the game because, from Winnipeg, you're building and you're feeling good and feeling confident about yourself. And suddenly, you give up something like that. It's unfortunate. Goals, the challenge, it's confirmed. And, like we discussed, it gives you a lot of, positivity to take forward because, again, you're feeling bad that you just gave up the goal, but at least this way, okay, well, you can delude yourself into saying that it wouldn't have gone in without the interference.
Yeah, it certainly was to the Jets' advantage that does not go in. The Jets take advantage of that and make it a 2-1 lead. So the bad 20 minutes has turned into a 2-1 lead for the Jets as they find their game in the second period. It's Gabe Vilardi. It's his first of the season. It's a great display of patience. It's the
Seagram shot of the game.
Why not? Seagram's shot of the game. Big thanks to our friends at Seagram's for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Seagram's VO, integrity, tradition, and craftsmanship. Ironically, that's what's also on Dave Manouk's business card. It's both Seagram's VO and Dave Manouk have integrity,
weird how that works,
and craftsmanship, synonymous with one another there. But it's Gabe Vilardi. You knew that he wanted to get off the schneid. You knew he needed to get off the schneid, and he gets off the schneid, but it doesn't happen without the great defensive play at the Kraken blue line by Kyle Connor. He backtracks. He makes the steal. He absolutely just prevents what looked like it was a no-doubter. It was going to be an easy breakout for the Kraken. Instead, Kyle Connor, with his very skillful stick, keeps it in, feeds it to Scheifele. The Kraken defensemen sort of give up on the play, thinking that it's both out of the zone and should be whistled for an offside. Lo and behold, it was not an offside. It wasn't even that close to being offside.
No.
But it's Connor to Scheifele. He feeds it to Vilardi. Vilardi is behind Adam Larson. He outweights Joey Decord and just sneaks it, sort of banks it in off of Decord's skate and just over the line and back out to give the Jets the 2-1 lead. This coming in the second period at the 15:05 mark. So late in the second period, the Jets lead 2-1.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody needed a goal more than Gabriel Vilardi. I remember someone asked to speak with him, so he came out and he's like, "What do you guys want to talk to me for? I haven't done anything." He's probably the most honest guy in that room when he talks about his own game. So I mean, I think that he had to be overjoyed to get that. And you're right. We pillory sometimes Kyle Connor's defensive play, and there's
way better so far this year,
for sure. But again, that was a real nice. I mean, I don't know. It's not necessarily a defensive. I guess it's defensive because the offense has
back
the puck.
Rack, you're back, and you got to get on that puck. It's a defensive play in the offensive zone.
Sure, and but it's a nice play, and it's a heads up play. And what's also heads up is the fact that it wasn't clear that Vilardi goal went in. Like, I mean, it was when you watch the replay, but
the official on the ice,
right. But what I'm saying is that, but the cord went back to make the save because he didn't know if it hit the post and came out. And Connor similarly went to try and put that puck in the net. So you like the fact that he didn't, stop trying to score just in case it didn't go in. But all I was going to say is that, you like for Vilardi, that's exactly what he has to do. He has to be in tight. That's his
bread and butter.
That's his area. That's his bread and butter. That's what he does best is he creates time and space for himself, and he's got slick moves when it comes to being in front, and I'm sure goaltenders are aware when he's there that he's got a kind of a bag of tricks that he can kind of draw from. So, like I said, for a guy like Gabe Vilardi to get on the score sheet and to contribute, that's big because, Mark Scheifele has a number of goals. Kyle Connor has a number of goals. A number of other guys have a number of goals because the team of Jets have been scoring. He hasn't been one of them. He had 3 assists coming into today's game. So for him to finally get that goal and, he'll start to feel good about his game. And that's important because he's a big piece of the Jets puzzle, and they need him to be going.
I mean, the Jets' top line, as per usual, lost the Corsi battle. They
Yeah.
tend to lose the Corsi battle. If they could ever get it so, remember way back when they first became a line, if they can ever get it so that they get back to that controlling pace of play where they can really win against other teams' top lines, that, further changes the dynamic of this entire season because, the fourth line didn't have a great game tonight, which is the
No.
exception. Rather than the rule. Usually they've been the better of the two teams, but we know that the Lowry, Appleton, Niederreiter line is just absolutely eating their minutes. They're now up to, I guess it wouldn't, it was sort of a mishmash of players on the ice for Niederreiter's second goal of the game, which we'll get to momentarily. But they're up now 6 goals for, 0 goals against at 5-on-5 this season. I'm sure that stat, I think it came from Mike Kelly, was floating around social media earlier today. They've played the most minutes at 5-on-5 in the entire league without having a goal scored against them, which is obvious, and having scored 6 goals themselves.
Right.
So when you can beat your opponents 6-0 in terms of your goals for, goals against, you're doing something good as a line, as we've discussed. So second period ends, Jets lead 2-1. They do kill off another penalty. It was 14 seconds after Velarde scored. Adam Lowry went to the box for a slashing call that he did not agree with, but the Jets did a very good job again killing off that penalty. The only note I made on it, there was a real nice defensive play there by Dylan Samberg, who had a good sort of interception and then clean clear of the puck when the Jets were shorthanded late in that second period. There was a good chance for Cole Perfetti in that second period, and then a big hit by Will Borgen on Vlad Nemesnikov later as the Kraken, who had been struggling for a lot of that second, I thought sort of found the game a little bit towards the end of the second, and the game began to get a little bit more physical and began.
Kupari got a big hit. I think he was hit big in the third, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Yeah. I'm just saying, like they started to get a little more physical. You're right.
That's right. They began to get a little more physical. After 40 minutes, though, the Jets have that all-important 2-1 lead, having scored twice in that second period. They score once in the third period as well. It comes at the 4:21 mark of the third period. It's Nino Niederreiter, his second of the game, his fourth of the year, assist to Cole Perfetti and Neil Pionk. It's a nice pass by Pionk up the left side to Perfetti. And again, we've said Cole Perfetti's vision a multitude of times already this season, and you saw it again here. This is just after the penalty for the Kraken expires. It's 3 seconds after the penalty expires. So the Jets had an effective power play. The top unit for the Jets had a ton of zone time and some okay opportunities. And then with really only about 20 or 25 seconds left on the penalty, the second unit gets on the ice. And just after it expires, it's Perfetti with a beautiful cross ice pass to Nino Niederreiter. Everybody leaves Niederreiter alone. They're focused solely on Perfetti, and he makes no mistake putting it past Joey Decord to give the Jets the 3-1 lead. This at the 4:21 mark of the third.
Yeah, that it definitely was a little bizarre because it was a little Keystone Cops-esque, if you will. I think it was former Winnipeg Jet Brandon Tanev was trying to clip skates with the Seattle defender. I can't remember who that Seattle defender was, Drew. It wasn't Larson. It was, I don't remember who the left side guy was on that play, but regardless, they clip skates, and that gives Nino Niederreiter all he needs. And you like the little pump fake by Nino. He gets, Joey Decord to bite on it. He also gets,
it was Alexiak.
Oh, Alexiak. Okay.
Yeah.
So those guys go down kind of in a heap, and he gives Nino Niederreiter exactly the space he needs. And one of the guys that we talk about, sorry, what were you saying?
I was going to say, and it was a great sort of pump fake by Niederreiter to freeze the cord, and then he takes another 2 steps and the Niederreiter takes another 2 strides, maybe 1 stride to his left. So that was a completely empty net for him to shoot out after after Tanev and Alexiak hit the ice. The cord bites on the pump fake like a defensive back on a stop and go, and Niederreiter into the empty net.
Yeah, and look, Nino Niederreiter up to 4 goals is big, because one of the things we talked about with that Lowry line, regardless of how you number them, they need to produce. They can't just be a checking line. They have to be able to score as well. I mean, obviously, if you can shut down the McDavids and the top lines of the opposition, that's important. But you definitely need to have them scoring. They have to be contributing. And Mason Appleton is on pace for a career year. Niederreiter could be on base, and it's early. It's only 7 games in. But again, it's one of those things that you need to have that top 9 scoring. And right now, they just have a top 9 that are scoring. And Niederreiter contributing is big because, like I said, it's good to be able to hold, but you need to be able to add. And I think that's what these guys are doing this year. And the Jets are the beneficiary of it early on, especially the way, you outlined it, Drew, right? How good their line has been.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, and look, let's call it what it was. I mean, that's a phenomenal play by Cole Perfetti. I mean, they're watching him. Like
Doug doesn't think so. Doug, we love you, but Doug didn't think it was that great of a pass.
I
said to Doug, "You're a tough marker, Doug."
Yeah, no, I thought I saw Doug saying that he wanted someone to go back and look at the Perfetti pass. But
yeah,
look, I mean, he passed it through what? I mean, he's got Larson looking at him, and then he gets it past Larson, gets it. I disagree, Doug. Honestly, like he anticipates where Nino is going to be, puts it onto his stick. And look, I give credit to where credit is due. Nino makes the move that sets up the goal, but Perfetti puts that pass where it needed to be. And look, this is the beauty of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, the Illegal Curve Post Game Show. Everybody in the chat, everybody on the screen is entitled to an opinion. What I say isn't always right. What Drew says is generally wrong, and what you guys and girls say can sometimes be right, sometimes wrong, where it's always open for discussion and interpretation. That's the beauty of this. There's no right or wrong unless, I'm saying it, and then it's probably right. But anyways, I thought it was a heck of a nice pass by Perfetti, and you can see the confidence in him, whether it's defensively, which we talked about in the last game, or offensively. And that's significant for Winnipeg.
Yeah, exactly right. The Jets have that 3-1 lead early in the third period. The question is, can they hold on to it? Are they able to shut it down? The answer is not in this case. Rarely it's not, but today was one of those games that Kraken come within a goal at the 11:01 mark. Jordan.
And by the way, Drew, just before you get into it, could you feel it? Could you feel it a little bit? Like it was?
Yeah, a little bit I did, yeah.
Yeah, like sometimes you get a feel for when you're watching a Jets game, and to me, like a 3-1.
It's because they didn't really play that great today. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, they win the game, and you get full credit for that. But by and large, like I said earlier in the post game show, I thought the Kraken were certainly the Jets' equal, if not better than the Jets for a lot of this game. So I did sort of feel like that Seattle certainly wasn't out of it when it was a 3-1 game, tonight.
Okay. Yeah. I just was curious because like I said, when I was watching that, I mean, throughout the course of the game, I thought Seattle was into it, but like specifically in the third with the Jets up 3-1, it was like one of those ones that don't rate the headline just yet.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. And the Kraken do get close again, as we mentioned. It comes at the 11:01 mark. Jordan Eberle gets his 6th of the year, assist to Jared McCann and Matty Beniers. And I mean, Neil Pionk, it starts with a giveaway. He's at the Jets blue line and he just fires it out and he puts it right onto the stick of Adam Larson. And what did we see from the Kraken, early in tonight's game is how quick strike they are, how quick they are at transition. And when you put the puck right onto their defender's stick, albeit at the Kraken own blue line, they were able to transition the puck up very quickly. The problem I don't love the initial play by Pionk to put it onto Larson's stick, but then I don't love that he sort of panicked as a result, over pursues on Jared McCann after the Kraken, get into the Jets zone, leaving Jordan Eberle basically all alone in front of Connor Hellebuyck. And Eberle is a very skilled, very smart player in this league for a long, long time. I mean, you give him that much space, he's going to do some damage, and he does, beating Connor Hellebuyck with the backhand to make it 3-2 at this point in the third period, in the latter half of the third period.
I mean, I would look at the Jets forwards as well, Drew, and be like, where exactly were they planning on going? Because, I think that Mark Scheifele anticipated that puck was going to get out. So he was already turning up and heading out of the zone.
Well, but I mean, I don't have a problem necessarily with how the forwards played it. It just starts.
There's
with
nobody.
Pionk.
Sure. No, I don't think Pionk made a great play, but the
Right.
point, I guess what I'm saying though here is that you've got kind of a lack of, like, look at this, like everybody is on the left side
Right.
and Jordan Eberle is.
Everybody over pursues. So there's no
That's right.
question about that.
So you've got way too many guys and the structure breaks down.
Mhm.
So you don't have someone saying, okay, Pionk is committing, I've got to cover Pionk. And throughout the course of this season, and again,
Right.
admittedly, it's only been a month or less than a month, sorry, like 2.5 weeks. But generally speaking, this team has guys covering, right? So if you see Pionk or Morrissey or, whomever, that generally speaking, one of the forwards has been there to cover for them. Now we don't see that in this play. And look, Jordan Eberle doesn't have the foot speed that Jordan Eberle used to have.
Right.
His hands are still pretty freaking good. I mean,
When
honestly, like that was silky. That was silky smooth, right? Like that was a real nice play by him to get that puck past Connor Hellebuck and to make it a 3-2 game.
Yeah, 3-2 at that point, and then the Kraken tie it up with 16 at the 16:38 mark. So 5 minutes and 37 seconds later, they complete the comeback. Matty Beniers, who was all over the score sheet tonight with 2 goals and an assist, he gets his second of the season, second of the game, assist to Brandon Montour, who was also all very effective for the Kraken tonight, and Jared McCann. You can see that the Kraken are a top-heavy team when it comes to their offensive output, I would say. Just a great tip by Beniers, a nice tippable shot from Montour as well. No chance for Connor Hellebuck on this one, and you did sort of feel that this was coming, especially after the Kraken had made it the 3-2 goal. They tie it up 3-3 with just over 4 minutes to play in the third period.
Yeah, I mean, again, the Jets, it's unfortunate because the fourth line had been very good. And it's a bit of it's a hodgepodge because Kupari's out there with Appleton and Lowry, because I guess he took the face off.
Right.
And Kupari has a chance to get, so I shouldn't say the fourth line, I should really say the Lowry line with Kupari on it. And the problem is that he is along the boards, has a chance to clear the puck and doesn't. And that, we always say like the puck's rolling on him a little bit. It gets cut up in his equipment and then it falls and it kind of lands on his stick. And then at that point, Drew, I mean, again, there's a bit of a gap and Pionk doesn't tie up Beniers. So sure enough, he gets that beautiful tip past Connor Hellebuck. But again, it's one of those unfortunate sort of situations where you've got to tie him up. So that's a tough play by Neil Pionk because you're not really doing anything. You're not serving any purpose. You're not blocking the shot. Well, you're not blocking the shot.
Right.
And you're not tying up your man. So then what are you doing exactly? You're not doing anything. And so because
similar
of it,
to the first goal, I would say,
right. Yeah.
Just stuck in no man's land.
That's right. And so ultimately, that it kind of felt like that was coming, especially after they made it 3-2, that 3-0 goal was going to be there.
And both teams played the final 4 minutes very cautiously. Both teams seemed like they were fine, taking a point each and then figuring it out in overtime. And that is what happened. The overtime winner is, this can't be right. It's saying, sorry, NHL.com. I got to refresh it there for a second. It said Neil Pionk scored the overtime winner at first. I'm like, that's not right. Ehlers.
They knew you mentioned him so many times, Drew. They're like,
that's right.
They had him in the brain.
Yeah, Ehlers, the overtime winner with a delayed penalty coming to the Kraken. So Connor Hellebuck sprints to the bench. Well, he skates to the bench to be more exact. Ehlers jumps on the ice. Kyle Connor finds Ehlers as the trailer. He lets the shot go, and it's probably one that Joey Decord wants back. It squeaks through Decord and squeaks over the goal line, although I think Kyle Connor was right there as well to bat it in if it hadn't gone in on its own. And the Jets escape Seattle, winning 4-3, the overtime winner off the stick of Nikolai Ehlers. The Jets improved to that perfect record of 7-0, for the Winnipeg Jets. And again, not their best outfit, not their best effort, not their best, most prettiest win of the year, but it's a win in the win column. And the Jets, like I said, improved to 7-0 now, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, it's when this team has numbers in overtime, it's a problem. When you have Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, and Nikolai Ehlers out there, and even Neil Pionk, who often plays almost like a forward to a certain degree, you know that you've got a significant advantage. And yeah, Seattle definitely is standing around a little bit. They're kind of caught off guard by sometimes the penalty's called, you're kind of almost waiting for that automatic whistle, but that whistle, you got to play till it actually happens. And Nikolai Ehlers shot, how much confidence does he have right now, right? So he's, this is a guy who's contributing, his line's contributing. Scott Billick of the Winnipeg Sun wrote an interesting column, which was featured in the Winnipeg, I guess it's the Winnipeg Jets afternoon links on illegalcurve.com. And I'll probably put it in the morning papers as well. But he just talked about how the confidence that line kind of felt in terms of how they, it was just interesting to hear the way Ehlers talked about it, how they weren't working as a trio. They were working individually, where guys would be like, one guy would go in and then another guy would go in and a third guy. They wouldn't be going in as a unit. And he said they just weren't on the same page. And now, and again, this isn't about that line specifically, but just you can see it, right? That line seems to have a little more jam, a little more chemistry, whatever you want to call it, in terms of how they're working together. And Ehlers' game overall, there you can see the confidence that he's experiencing, although he did look for a penalty, even though he didn't realize. I think it was a little friendly fire when he got tripped, sometime, I don't remember when it was in the third period, but he looked for a call. And I was like, well, I don't think a call's coming unless you want it against one of your teammates. But ultimately he scores. And, again, it's his third goal of the season. You want him scoring, you want him feeling good. And he is, and the team is, because they are now 7-0-0 to start the season, which is, again, it's a record for the city. Something we've never seen. I believe Joe Pascucci was saying it hadn't even been done by a WHA team. So, I mean, this is they're
in heady territory is where they are.
That's a good way of putting it, Drew.
Yeah, 7-0. The Jets are 4-3 the victors in Seattle tonight. When we come back on the Illegal Curve post-game show, we'll bring you some post-game comments if we get some from the Jets dressing room, plus some interesting stats regarding tonight's contest. Don't go anywhere. Couple more minutes to go, and then we promise you can go to bed. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by Play Now rolls on this Friday morning.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in two unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by Play Now. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk with you on this Friday morning. I just went and rewatched the Nikolai Ehlers overtime winner.
Mm-hmm.
If it hadn't trickled over the line, it was actually him who had skated around everyone to get back there. He would have pushed it over the line himself if the momentum of the initial shot hadn't quite made it there. So a good hustle, a good shot by Ehlers, and then a good hustle to chase after the shot to follow up his own shot, as he would have put it in if it hadn't already gone in to give the Jets the 4-3 overtime winner. Post-game comment from Jets head coach Scott Arniel, this courtesy our buddy Jamie Thomas. Quote, I think both coaches might be tossing that one away. It was sloppy both ways. I don't mean to be disrespectful to Kraken head coach Dan Bilesma and his team. We weren't very good in the first. That's what Scott Arniel said. He continues to say, we were a lot better in the second, third. We did everything we needed to do, but made a couple of mistakes that ended up in the back of our net. But at the end of the day, like I said before, it's 2 points. It's on the road. Move on. That's Jets head coach Scott Arniel succinctly summing up his impression of the Jets' performance tonight versus the Seattle Kraken, Dave.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, right? I think they'll review it and move on, because sometimes you just have to put it behind you. But I mean, I think there's some things that they're going to definitely want to look at, especially like we said, Drew, like in terms of the gap was way too big for Seattle, and you just have to you have to figure out, you have to be better, because especially with like higher quality opponents. That's gonna hurt you.
Well, if you remember last year, the Jets often struggled against teams that were strong in transition. I mean, for years now, the Vegas Golden Knights were a team that the Jets have always had trouble with, and they've been strong in transition. And the Kraken tonight, very strong in transition. I thought the Jets struggled with it at times. So you wonder if that is sort of maybe a continuing Achilles heel for this Winnipeg Jets team and how they defend and how they structure their play. But it's certainly something they'll need to clean up a little bit, throughout the course of the season.
And look, that's the whole key, right? You have to be able to establish these are the problems that are getting exploited on. Like we talked about with Scott Arniel the other day when he was asked about Pittsburgh, building a wall at the blue line to prevent the zone entry on the power play. How do you, when you have a team that puts a wrinkle into your plans because they're trying to, institute some sort of something against you that they think that they can exploit, how do you evolve? How do you adjust to handle that? And that's what's incumbent on this coaching staff to figure out, so you can, continue to have success through the ways you've done, but also to show that you're not going to be rigid and you have to be able to evolve, because otherwise, again, like you said, Drew, that stuff gets exploited over time because there's too much game tape to be able to figure out, okay, this is where they're weak. And if teams see that you're not adjusting, well, they're just going to continue to find better ways to exploit it.
Yeah. Final quote tonight goes to Gabe Vilardi and talking about Nino Niederreiter. Quote, he's someone I watch a lot in practice, the things he does around the net, the things he works on. I try and work on those things too. He's been around for so long, said Vilardi about Niederreiter. He's been a goal scorer around the net, and I kind of see myself as similar to that, a guy that's going to score his goals around the net. He's got incredible hands, and he uses his body well. So if Gabe Vilardi wants to learn from Nino Niederreiter, I think there's a lot to learn there when it comes to scoring goals from within a couple feet of the blue paint. Niederreiter got 2 tonight. Vilardi got 1, so they certainly were impactful on tonight's Winnipeg Jets victory in Seattle against the Kraken, as the Jets improved to 7 wins and 0 losses on the season.
Yeah, very impressive stuff. Oh, by the way, sorry, Drew, I know we're not going to do a Manouk Moose Minute because it's just been practice this week, but it's not going to be practice for long. Over 300 of you in the chat. The illegal curve zone for Manitoba Moose games is back for the season, which means we have tickets to give away. The home opener is on Saturday, 2:00. They're the visiting Rockford Ice Hogs will be in town. So if you want to see the Jets up tomorrow, well,
Saturday,
tomorrow,
yeah,
then we can get you some seats. So if you want to go, send me an email, dave@illegalcurve.com, or slide into my DMs, IC Dave, and we can get you some tickets in the IC zone. And you can see Lambert, Parker Ford, Mikita Chibrikov, Elias Salamonson, the names.
You can
go
see
on and
Dave.
on.
Dave will be there. They usually they usually shine the spotlight on Dave at least once, twice each period, just so everybody knows what Dave is up to in the course of the 60 minutes of a Moose game.
I will be doing color alongside. I'm going to be doing color alongside Daniel Fink. So you'll see me in the broadcast booth. If you look, usually I'm on the lower gondola. For game one, I will be in the upper gondola, giving Dan an assist in the broadcast booth. So you'll hear my voice on the radio potentially, and we'll see. It should be a good game. So it'll be a lot of fun. And I got to mention, because of course, looking at the OHL, there's a game, Kevin He versus Colby Barlow, and the Oshawa Generals versus the Niagara Ice Dogs. Kevin He, named captain. He's the 19th captain in Niagara Ice Hogs history, and he and his Ice Dogs defeated Colby Barlow and the Oshawa Generals 4-3. Kevin He scored 2 goals, his 10th and 11th of the season. So he continues to find the back of the net and have a lot of success. Colby Barlow didn't have any points. So Kevin He wins the battle of Jets prospects in tonight's OHL action.
There you go. That'll wrap up tonight's Illegal Curve post-game show presented by Play Now. Big thanks to Play Now for their continued support of Illegal Curve hockey. Big thanks to all of our other sponsors, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. Joe Dombrowski is in town starting tomorrow. The shows are all sold out, so much so that they've added an extra show Saturday afternoon. So if you want to see Joe Dombrowski, there's a Saturday 3:30 p.m. matinee at Rumors. Get your tickets, rumorscomedyclub.com. Big thanks to Holt Dental. City Place, Monday at 12 noon. If you're in the downtown area or if you want to come downtown, we will be doing a live on location noon hour broadcast at City Place in the food court where we were for the playoff games last year. We're back every month at City Place. We're getting you set for the Jets and the Leafs on Monday night. So if you're in the downtown neighborhood, come visit us Monday afternoon at City Place. Big thanks to City Place for their support of Illegal Curve. Boston Pizza. We're next to Boston Pizza later in the month of November. More information about that coming up shortly. And of course, our friends at Seagram's. They sponsor the shot of the game. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve hockey. Winnipeg Jets, they head into Seattle victorious 4-3 in overtime, improved to a perfect 7-0 so far in the 2024
just like we all predicted
2025 season, just like we all predicted. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast, leave us feedback here, there, and everywhere. We want to hear what you have to say about the shows. Thanks everyone for joining us. For Dave Manouk, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Until Saturday at 9 a.m., we wish you, I guess, good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're tuning in from. Most importantly, good luck as well. Thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow at Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.